Yeah, man, I enlisted in the United States Army and then did that close to 6 years. Nursing was just another opportunity to be able to work in the world of service. That's something I appreciate about the Army. And so it just kind of went hand in hand with going into nursing. I have so much appreciation and love for it. There's the downsides to it. You do lose some of your mental. I started out as a night shift nurse. It's almost like you start separating from reality a little bit.
Not only would you have gone for 6 months to 12 months to 2 years to try to break in, I can promise you wouldn't have broken at well over 6 figures.
You could try to do this process. Good luck to you. It might take you X amount of time. Or would you rather invest your time now and make things happen?
Do the job to get the job. It's what we always tell you, but you made it a priority. You made it a second job. And that's what I always tell you guys. If you guys are going to do this, you have to fully commit. There's people who are fully committed to breaking into this industry. It's a full-time job for them. I'll put a couple applications. I'll kind of try. It's not going to work for you.
When you look at the financials of nursing, I don't think any nurse ever really feels compensated for the effort they are putting in, regardless of whatever department they work in.
One joke I always make to all my nurses is if you have a pulse and you have a certification, you get a job. That is not how med device sales works because everyone wants to make a lot of money and have a good work-life balance.
For all my nurses and veterans out there, you guys have the skill set. You've proven yourself many times over. So my advice, to them is...
Welcome back to New to Medical Device Sales. I am your host, Jacob McLaughlin, and today I am honored to bring you all a guest who not only is an absolute stud, but also someone who, former military, somebody who got into nursing after 3 years, decided to make the change. New to medical device sales member who just broke into medical device sales with a great company, and he's excited. But I'm excited to bring you all Kiahlin Redish, who is 30 years old. He's just getting started. We are both just 30, and we figured out we are 30. We keep having to think about how old we are. Now we're out of our 20s, and what we wanted to share is going through this process is I am so excited for you to meet Kiahlin because he is someone who is motivating, he's driven, but he was someone who always wanted to get better. And I know no matter what background you all have, this is going to be an extremely supportive and extremely encouraging episode because you guys are about to see why. So Mr. Kiahlin, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, brother. Thank you for having me on, man. It's an honor to be here. When you're looking into this course, you get to watch a lot of these. So it's always, it's cool now to be a part of that process. So thanks for having me, man.
Well, first off, you earned it, man. You've absolutely crushed it, but I'm really excited for people to get to meet you today and go through your journey because I'll never forget our first call and just how determined you were and where you're like, hey, I'm ready to make that change. I'm ready to go somewhere else. And what I really want to go over today is, we get a lot of different listeners. And what I mean by that is, we get young kids, we get people that are in their 40s and 50s that they think it's too late already when it's never too late. But the reason I just say that is because you have such a great background. You have a military background. You have being a nurse, now coming in med device sales. And we're going to dive into all of that. And I want just people to learn. But before we get too far in that, can you give us just a quick little summary of who the heck is Kiahlin and where you came from?
I was actually, I grew up, born and raised in Florida, real small town in North Florida. I think our population now is maybe close to 5,000, but grew up on a farm, real small town, humble beginnings. After getting close into high school, I had great parents, but my parents had to have that conversation with me where, hey, if you want to chase life going to school, and, provide those opportunities, you're gonna have to figure out how to do it for yourself because, they just unfortunately didn't financially have the means to afford me those opportunities. So on the back end of my senior year, I had always kind of had the thought that, I wanted to be able to serve. My grandfather was drafted in Korea at a really young age. And then my dad and uncle and them, they took the generational gap. So I kind of picked up that generational gap growing up from my grandpa. I got a lot of inspiration from him. So yeah, man, I enlisted in the United States Army and then did that close to 6 years. And then during my time there, coming up on my second re-enlistment, I did, have those feelings of just, my 20s, not always going to be here. The military is, what would life look like outside of being in the military? Because when I first got in, I was that whole mindset of I'm going to do this for 20 years, knock out my first retirement.
I'm going to get out by 38, make my stipend, and then I'm going to go do something else.
Exactly, man. That old song and dance that you hear. But, things changed in the military. It was kind of evolving as I was going through. Things were slowing down, things were changing. So I took a chance on, getting out and rejoining the civilian world. And I knew on the back end, the military, on my last deployment, I really laid out what job opportunities or things that I felt would, sought my interest. And nursing was just another opportunity to, be able to just work in the world of service and be able to serve those. That's something I appreciate about the Army. And so it just kind of, went hand in hand with going into nursing. And I knew that a lot of the skills that I had developed in the Army, whether it be leadership, critical thinking, just being able to work under high stress, I knew that that would transition well, especially because I wanted to go into ER nursing.
Yeah.
So I got out in 2018, went back to school, became a nurse, and then I started my nurse career in Colorado. And about a year into it, I decided to take a shot at doing travel nursing, and I went all over the place, landed here in Texas. And yeah, man, that's kind of how I ended up in this location. And you kind of touched on it along the way. I would say last year, about early mid last year, had the thought of maybe doing medical device. I remember the first conversation we had when you asked me kind of our why, or like, what's your experience with it? And the one time that I remember that kind of captivated me the most was, I told you about how the ER uses the Lucas, which is a Stryker product, and showing up to this ER, I'd never used it, and we ran into a situation where a patient coded, and they attempted to use the Lucas, and nobody knew how to properly set it up. So we wasted, precious time trying to get this machine, and then just ended up having to take it off, do manual compressions. And that actually led them reaching out to a Stryker rep, and him coming out and actually teaching us how to use the product, telling us how it works. And then not only that, him being able to provide the statistics of why the Lucas is important, and, the difference it makes in turnaround times and patient recovery. So that's kind of what kind of lit the fire. And I looked into it, and, then you quickly learn that you can't just throw your resume at a medical device company and get a job. So
Yeah. Well, first off, the one joke I always make to all my nurses is if you have a pulse and you have a certification, you get a job. That is not how med device sales works, because everyone wants to make a lot of money and have a good work-life balance. There's just a lot of stuff to unpack with what you just said, and I want to kind of go back just so it can help everyone. But number one, first thing I want to just say is thank you for your service, man. It's always an honor to meet people who go and serve in our military. My best friend is an Army Ranger, and I always appreciate you guys, because I'll never forget, I was going to college, and here I am playing basketball in college, and I'm calling him, and he's like, I'm in Iraq. And it's just like, he's handing out candy to kids and trying not to get shot, and I'm having to go do a workout, right, at a private college. Like, it's just two different things. But that's why I appreciate all of you in the military. But number one, I want to go back to people will hear, oh, you went to a private college. I went to private college because I had to get a scholarship, because my mom and dad had that exact same conversation with me, Kiahlin, of, we love you. We're not going to be able to put yourself through. You got to put yourself through college. We can't afford it. They're two middle-class working parents. My mom was a nurse. My dad was a truck driver. I was very thankful for it. But I just want to say I love that for you, for the fact of you at a young age have to start being resourceful. Right. We both had to be like, okay, so what are we going to do? For me, it was basketball. And I'm like, okay, what can I do with my scholarship and get to that if I want to go play ball? Right. For you, I love that you have that close relationship with your grandpa, to where it was like, hey, you looked up to him and you can go into the military. But I'm also like thankful that, hey, you were able to find something that not only that you were able to go serve, but it also served you, because you learned so many skills, you went through that process, but also what a blessing that you went through that. And a lot of my friends are in the military, so that's why I laugh, and I knew the 38 and all this stuff is, you all go do it, and then about 4 to 6 years in, everyone's like, what the heck did I sign up for at 18? What is going on? I'm not even making that much crazy, like all this stuff. And for you, I love that you came into the mindset of like, I can always come back. Now, maybe I don't have the 20 straight years, right? But maybe I can always come back if I needed to. And so I just share that because I know we get a lot of young people. And again, I'm not telling you to do the military. I'm not telling you to do med device sales. I just want you guys to know is like, go find what's going to be the best, because everyone, and this is my whole thing for everybody, is everyone has different backgrounds. We all just got to make ends meet the way we make ends meet. And so I'm glad that that worked for you. And then you went into nursing. So I want to just touch on that. So you went into the military, and then you're like, hey, I'm coming out 2018. You're like, I'm going to go do nursing. What about nursing? And especially you said ER nurse, which you guys, if you don't know that, it's no cakewalk. You're going to be put in some stressful situations. What made you be like, hey, after the military, I'm going to go into nursing? Like, what made you want to do that? After helping thousands of people break into medical device sales, we've received a lot of messages of asking for more personalized coaching and mentorship. Our average member breaks in 8.5 weeks at over $105,000. And if you're really interested and really motivated to break into medical device sales, you can click the link below or check out our website at newtomedicaldevicesales.com. See all the testimonial videos of people breaking in with Medtronic at over $170,000, at Abbott, $175,000 as a full line rep. So if you're really excited and also motivated and wanting personalized coaching and mentorship, then go and click the link below, schedule a call, and we'll get you where you want to go. Enjoy the rest of the episode.
Like I said, I kind of figured out at a young age that I did get a lot of fulfillment from helping people. And that's military afforded that opportunity. And then, looking at the potentials for a career after that, when you look into, what it does mean to be a nurse, you put yourself for others, put everything above yourself, because, you're going to give people your time, your mental, your physical, and your spiritual well-being. And all those things kind of, when I thought about, being in that position and walking in those shoes, the thought of the fulfillment of helping people in need was something that, I was getting excited about. I'm a person that really thrives well under challenge.
Yeah.
Having challenge in my life, or like being able to, have a clear goal and work towards that, is kind of what, springs me into being the better version of myself.
Yeah.
So I knew nursing was going to also offer that. There was going to be a clear layout what we're going to do today. I knew that I was going to have to use my critical thinking skills, and really just be able to think outside of the box, while also using the training for, how you handle certain situations, that all kind of encompassed well, to the thought of, I could do this, and I feel like I could be good at it. So like I said, the military had given me a lot of very similar skill sets, or at least a mindset to apply those skills to nursing. And yeah, man, that's kind of what pushed me towards nursing. And then also a big part of that too was, I was in the infantry in the Army. So I got really good at that.
Yeah.
And my thought was, what is completely opposite of this?
Yeah.
I had to, you know, being infantry in the Army doesn't really translate to a civilian career unless you do something like private security
Here,
or,
here. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So, just a lot of things with that, but definitely just, medical is like, well, I've sharpened one good skill set.
Yep.
What is another skill set that would just kind of aid me throughout life? So, walking into the world of medicine, that's what also kind of pushed me to want to do nursing. And then obviously with ER nursing, having those skill sets that the military gives you, it just does well for ER nursing because, it's
You're able to go in high pressure situations and perform.
exactly. Yeah. And
Yep.
you got to be able to keep it together, shake things off, and, not buckling or anything. So all the green lights were going off in my head when I was thinking, could I really do nursing? And I didn't want to do anything outside of ER nursing. So
Yep.
yeah, I had the clear goal to do it. And, yeah, man, I got out in 2018 and went back to school and made it happen. So
I think that's absolutely amazing when I meet vets of like that. You're in the infantry. It's like, yeah, how do you go from like when my buddy's like, he's an Army Ranger, they're doing crazy things. And I'm like, how do you come back and just like drive a car to a soccer practice? You know what I mean? Like when your life is so different prior to that, right? Like it's amazing transition. But number two is what I just want to commend you on is like, hey, instead of just doing something else, like you're like, I'm young. How do I continue to add skill set to myself? Right? How do I continue to give myself that's going to bring more value to other people and to myself? So I'm going to be opened up for other things because again, you just were building your background resume, really. And so love that. Now, this is what I want everyone to hear because again, I bet I have a lot of nurses listening, but then you went to travel nursing. So what made you make that jump? What made you go from ER to be like, hey, I'm gonna go travel now and go different places, different management? We always know it's usually a little financial is going to be a little better, but what also made you make that change?
you did touch on one of the big parts of it, the financial gain going into traveling, especially depending on where you travel. It's a big difference in being able to, any of the negatives that you associate in your nursing career, it at least gives you a financial incentive to be like, you know what, I can show up, I can do this. I actually feel like I'm getting,
Compensated what you
more.
wanted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
compensated. Exactly. But, working as a staff nurse, it's good because you have the stability, your team, how where everything is, how operations work, and you do thrive well in that environment of just, everybody knows each other, working styles they come together. For me, it was very ill-advised to me the way I did it because majority of travel nurses that start across the board, they say, hey, you should at least have 2 years of experience,
Yeah.
but you only need 1 year
To
to technically be
actually
able to,
do
yeah,
it.
to be able to travel. So everybody was like, I would do 2 years. I would do 2 years. And I was like, I'm just going to take the risk and
And you're
take the
like, eagles don't fly with pigeons.
exactly. Yeah. I literally called a recruiter. I think I was like 11 months into nursing,
Yeah.
called a recruiter. She was like, well, I can't really help you with anything until you at least hit that year. So I stayed in contact with her. And then she finally started, getting these contracts together. But a big part of why I wanted to do it was, with travel nursing, you're kind of in control of yourself
Yeah.
because no one's going to make sure that you're waking up to go to work. No one's going to make sure that you're showing up to these hospitals. No one's going to build these prior relationships. You have to push yourself to do all those things. So you really take back that whole responsibility back into your realm of becoming a contracted nurse and, really showing up, being able to build those relations. And also, too, when you do show up as a traveler, they expect you to be able to display that skill set as a reminder to them of why they're hiring traveling nurses in the first place. Because as a traveling nurse, you're just expected to show up and to be able to just bounce on the dime and everything's fluent for you.
Yeah.
Like my first contract, they gave me, I think they gave me like a month. I kind of worked with a nurse. And then it was like my last contract I just took, they gave me a day to learn the floor, completely different charting system. Really like the thought of being able to just kind of be in control and responsible for my own actions and to not
Yep.
have, a director or a manager breathing down my neck. It was literally just me and my recruiter. And then she'd say, hey, contract's approved. This is where you need to be. This is how long it's going to be for. This is how much you're getting paid. Good luck. And
Yeah.
then as soon as the contract's done, where are we going next?
Yep.
So yeah, for me, I really like to, be able to be responsible for myself.
Hmm.
Um, and it's something I'm capable of doing. So that was a big thing for travel nursing too. And then obviously the financial compensation side of it. If you're getting out there to California, New York,
Yeah.
you can actually start making some pretty good money.
Yep.
And then it's all your 1099 employee. So, a lot of it's that tax free. So yeah, man, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's learning the world of taxes, IRS, and we are not
Yeah.
CPAs, so do not take us any advice
So
from us.
being able to do that too, it kind of forced me to get better with my skill set because
Yep.
it exposed me to different levels of, trauma, different specialties in that hospital. And then it really helped me, hone in my skill of, one, being able to just step into a hospital where I knew no one,
Yeah.
being able to make those relations and then convince them that, hey, this guy is reliable. And I don't want to toot my own horn, but was successful in my traveling career to where as soon as my contract was up, they always had offered me an extension,
Yep.
or they tried to convince me why I should be staffed there. So
Yeah.
yeah, the travel nursing was good to me, and it was a great experience. It taught me a lot, gave me a lot of opportunity, and it really did help me craft myself as a nurse working in the emergency department.
I love it, man. And I just share that because we get a lot of nurses, and you might be a nurse right now who's like, maybe I want to go try traveling. Because again, there's a lot of people who don't want to they want to flip stones, right? Like, hey, maybe I'm in the OR, or maybe I'm just a regular bedside nurse. Maybe I want to try traveling and then maybe med device. Like, go try everything, taste
Yeah,
everything, right? But the reason I just share that with everybody is I want everyone to hear a couple things. In that process, and why I asked you that question, and why I love it is a couple things, man. A, you got yourself out of your comfort zone again. You're like, hey, I could stay here. I could stay bedside. I know what I'm doing, like all this stuff, but it's ER, I'm doing all the things. But number one, you were also proactive with it. Like you actually were like, I'm going to reach out to the recruiter, even though they said, no, you need 12 months. I had 11, right? And then you followed up and you kept in touch. Why? Because you wanted it. So you're showing that. But the reason I'm just saying that to many people is like, it's what we do in med device sales, right? Like everyone says, hey, it takes 2 years. You got to get these sales. No, you don't. Like we show this living proof right there. You don't need it. But then number two is like, if you watch some of our people in here, hey, it takes 2 years to go from an associate to full line rep. We've hired people as full line reps or come in as associates 6 months later, they're as a full line rep, right? Doing the exact same thing. If you're hungry, if you're being proactive, if you're doing what they need to, goes. Now, the other thing I want everyone to hear is, so you did that. And what happened? You just got more skill sets that you were able to do. You were able to walk in, you learned how to network, you took straight ownership. Like you could now walk in. Now, when you're in med device sales, when they're trying to challenge you because you're a nurse, you're like, I've already done this 6 times in my travel contracts and been successful every time, right? So, again, just what I want people to hear is you just taking your same thing of you just being it, but being able to build your tool set and build your skill set of who Kiahlin is and where you were going to go take it, right? And that's what I
Yeah.
want people to really hear. Now, let's have the bigger conversation. Okay, so you in the military, then you did nursing, then it was travel nursing. You already touched on the Striker product and all this stuff, but like, what was the reason for like, okay, I'm doing this? Because you could have kept traveling and then kept making good money and been nursing. What was it that I'm like, finally, I want to do med device sales? And not only because you saw it, but then what was the reason when you're like, I'm finally going to take action, right? Because I always say this, there's always usually something, some feeling, something that happens that there's finally like, that's it. I can't do another day here. I have to start chasing what I want to do. So tell me a little bit, why med device sales when you were doing travel nurse and you're doing like, what was making you think maybe that's a better career for you at that time? And then number two, what was the reason you're like, that's it. I'm finally making the decision to do it.
I told you about the whole striker
Yeah.
situation. But I had worked around, being in the ER, I didn't really get as much exposure to,
Yeah.
I was in like an OR setting or like a cath lab setting where you
Yep.
do see a lot of this. Um, but just thinking about what medical device, offers, especially from a nursing perspective, is that, medical devices not only affect patients, but they do affect, medical professionals. And
Yes.
whether that's surgeons who are using the devices, or like in my situations where it's nurses using the devices and just seeing the success with them. So that for me, just thinking about it was, I was like, I appreciate that about medical device. And you've had nurses on this podcast, and like especially Gianna, that was one of the big podcasts I listened to where I was like, she's speaking for
My
every nurse.
language.
I don't even know if she realizes that she's speaking for every nurse who's been in that situation, who wants change. Nursing's it's a good career, and I have so much appreciation and love for it. But it does come with, you
A
know,
lot.
there's the downsides to it. Yeah, man, you do lose some of your mental. It starts getting challenging. You work 4 days in a row. I start out as a night shift nurse. It's almost like you start, separating from reality a little bit.
Yeah. You're like a
Because,
zombie and you're trying to like
yeah,
function and you don't even get to talk to people, see friends because your schedule is so messed up. And then
exactly.
because of your sleep schedule, you're a zombie because you don't even feel like alive because you're trying to do it. And the reason I can share that is because my best friend was a travel nurse before he passed away. And so I got to see it. Like I would go see him. He's waking up at 4 p.m. Hair's a mess. And he's like doing it because he's got to do a shift at 7.
Yeah, man. I think you have a good understanding with that, but definitely just, yeah, I was working a lot, and kind of like what you said, there was times I was waking up at 4 p.m. My whole biological clock was resetting. Nighttime was becoming my body's awake, daytimes, and then having to separate from working nights until all of a sudden I'm off. And now I got to try to do my social life where everybody's so used to going to bed at night and waking up during the day. And I'm trying to cross function with them. And yeah, so, it does affect, your mental, your social, your physical for sure. You're on your feet for 12 hours. But I think that's some of the main things that a lot of nurses can speak to. And then obviously the big side of it too is, when you look at the financials of nursing, I don't think any nurse truly ever really feels compensated for the
Yeah.
effort they are putting in,
Yep.
regardless of whatever, department they work in.
Yep.
So for me, that's kind of, those things started adding up. And then a big thing, man, especially in my nursing career, is I started feeling really stagnant. Even with travel
Mhm.
nursing, it was like I'd still show up to a new hospital, I'd meet a new team, and that was helping me. But after a while, just things become so routine. It's like, you show up, you start working around the same schedule, especially as a traveler, you're at the mercy of whatever days they want you to work. You don't get to
Yeah.
choose your schedule. That's the downside to traveling, is because they are contracting you and they are paying you better. you're going to fill in the gaps where they need those gaps filled. So, I was starting to work a lot of weekends. So, not even just working at, nights or whenever it was like I was working the weekends. And then during the weekday when I was off, my girlfriend's going to work, all my friends are going to work. And so you don't mean to, but you kind of build this almost isolation with nursing too, where it really does start feeling like it's becoming work and home and work and home and work and home.
Yeah.
And you almost gotta like really push yourself to maintain just a regular schedule. So that's, I don't want to beat the career down. I
No.
love
Yeah.
nursing, but that, just to be real about it is, that's a lot of things. And for nurses who are going to watch this and, hear me say these things, I can promise you that, they feel these in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Um, so that was kind of those things were on the brisk with nursing. And I talked about the things I expect about medical device. Um, and then I, like I had told you, I had tried to do, the method I think everybody does it first. You see the job listing or you go to the main website and you read the qualifications for it. And for the most part, you might have some of them, but you're not gonna have all of them. But you still throw your resume in. And I think I probably applied to 15 medical device openings, and it was the same response from all of them. They don't even give you like a separate response letter. They're literally all verbatim. Hey, thanks for taking time and interest in our company. We want to inform you that we're choosing to go with another candidate. So got knocked down, and you know, kind of was like, all right, well, I'm going to focus back on nursing
Yeah.
because, tried, or at least I thought that's what trying
Yeah,
was to get these
exactly. That's what I
jobs.
was just gonna
Yeah,
say. Everyone's like, "Well, I tried. I did my best," and I'm like,
yeah,
"You sent 15 applications and just called it quits." You know what I mean?
exactly. So what I thought was trying, and so I went back into nursing. Life has a really weird way of just throwing opportunities in front of you or, giving you answers when you do feel stuck in ruts like that. But yeah, I mean, I started seeing you come across my feed. Thank God for social media. Um, but yeah, I think it was one of the older videos where, you were talking about why nurses make, a successful transition into medical device.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I remember I saved the post in my saves and I was like, I'm gonna come back to this and like really look into this. And I hopped on the website and, saw everybody's testimonials. And, not only is there nurses in there, but there's vets and there's just people who have walked in my shoes and, successfully done what I was trying to do. And then I watched a few of the podcasts, man, and then, reached out to you.
I say the rest is history,
Great,
man.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a couple things I just want to touch on there for everybody listening is number one, man, I really appreciate you sharing what it's like to be a nurse because the reason I just tell you guys is I can share my experience of talking to you all and doing it, but like Kylan knows what he just said, all of you are feeling, right? Because I always say, like, my joke is when I get on a call with people, every single nurse tells me they feel capped. They're working 12-hour shifts. The only way they make more money is to work more 12-hour shifts. They don't feel like they're treated that well. They feel like their growth is stagnant. They also feel if they do go take the promotion that they're going to get way more stress, aka being a manager, then the money's worth it. And they feel like they are meant for more. And then the other thing is like what you're saying, selling a product, they feel like they can touch more lives. Instead of having 12 patients, they can touch all the lives. And so I've seen that, but I appreciate you sharing your experience because you had those same frustrations, but you feel it on a deeper because that's me just talking about the job. You talk about the mental part. You talk about the actual part of like, hey, how do you have a relationship? How do you have a family? How do you have friendships? Because everyone wants to talk about money and work, but what about like the things that really matter is like, is nursing really worth it if you lose your girlfriend? Right? Like the stuff like that. And so that's why I just appreciate you sharing that because that's what people a lot of times don't hear. And again, just so you know, what I've learned is many nurses feel like they're alone in that. Many people feel like they're alone in that of like, oh, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the one going crazy. And it's like, no, guys, you're all feeling the same. But one thing I do want to just share is that post you said, it's why do nurses make great medical device people? The thing that I love about working with you nurses is you guys are so versatile because you do have clinical experience. You have talked to surgeons. You do know that world. Like you said, you've walked into 6 different hospitals and you know all the different worlds, right? And the reason I'm saying is because you can either come in as an associate sales rep, a clinical specialist, which many of them do because they don't want a quota and they don't want all that stuff. But then also on top of it is a full line sales rep, depending on what's your hunger, where you want to go, and how you're going to prepare. But that's the last thing I want to touch is that's why you guys make such great reps and clinical specialists is you already have it. It's just how do we carry over that skill set, that tool set that you've been building to now use it in this different career. And I want to just share that for everybody there because you guys do have what it takes. We literally show you. Please go watch all the other podcasts with other nurses and other people to show that it is possible. But then the last thing I just want to put in there is just what you said, man. It's like it's what I have to talk with everyone is many people I get on a conversations with, they're making 65, 75, $100,000, which again, my friends, that is good and I'm very happy for you. But most of the time when I get on calls with people, they want to make more than that. Right. And so the reason I just share that is because you're living proof, man. You make well over six figures now and you're going to work less and make more. Like it's awesome. Right. And so if you think you can do what you did for a job for 65, 75, 85K, AKA just put a resume, have someone call, AKA just so you guys know, my mom, she's a nurse, diabetes educator. She's interviewing with Mayo. I'm so pumped for her. She might move out to Arizona. But the reason I say that, she sent an application. They did one hire view interview and now she's getting on a call tomorrow with the whole team of like the people, one interview and she'll have the job. That's not med device sales. It's, hey, it's 5 to 7 interviews. We just recorded one with Greg right before this he did 8 for the company he got hired with, right? And you guys are all making over 6 figures now. So it's like everyone wants to make 6 figures and work less and make more and work with surgeons and have this. And so just understand the position that you guys are walking into. You guys have great experience. You have great, but just understand it's not the same thing you did for nursing. It's not the same thing of you reached out to a recruiter to go get a travel nursing position. There's so much more that goes into it. So I just want to just say thank you for sharing the real life stuff. And also just wanted to just give encouragement to people. It's like, you can do it. Just understand, if you keep doing what you did, you're always going to keep getting what you got, right? Like this isn't the same industry. It's not the same division. It's not the same stuff of what you've been doing. So you got to change things up. So hopefully that can be encouraging. Most people, just so I can just hopefully give you some encouragement if this is the first time watching, go network. I just will personally tell you, networking, most people do it wrong. And like for Kiahlin, where he's in Austin, where everyone wants a job in Austin, Texas, guess what? He has to do it the right way. Otherwise, he's not staying there. And if he burns too many bridges of getting on calls, not prepared, this world's small. Just so you know, we literally just got Patrick hired and we had Angelo, one of our guys. He now just got into a final interview and he's 21 years old for a full line sales rep. Guess what? Patrick texted Angelo and they're talking about you because the rep or the manager down in Florida, Georgia, called the manager in North Carolina where Patrick's now at, and they're hearing each other talk. And he's like, they're calling each other and they're both in our program. And the reason I'm saying that is this world is small. So you got to make sure that you are doing the right things in there. So now let's talk about you being a travel nurse and you working an actual contract and trying to break into medical device sales. What was that like for you?
And I started the course. It was literally, the days I wasn't at work, I was giving myself to the course, taking the time. But, having to work the 3 shifts, do the 12 hours, and depending on how they would schedule it, sometimes they would schedule me 3 on, 1 off, 3 on. Any little time I had, I took, really heed of it when applying myself with the course. So yeah, man, I would literally do my shifts, and then the days I was off, I'd get up early and I'd be, at my computer, phone at my side, and I'd be on LinkedIn, just messaging as many, whether that was associate reps in the clinical and sales team, the territory, and so that, I kind of made it to where I had a job, and then because I wanted the job, I now made, the process a full-time job of working to get these opportunities. Would get up early, get on LinkedIn. I'd be watching the course videos, making sure, and then I would follow everything down to a T,
Yeah,
as
you
it's
did.
laid out. And I think if I check my LinkedIn now, I think I have 400 plus connections, and I've reached out to every single one of them in some way, shape, or form. Take the time, watch the course videos, would reach out as much as I could, and then, just hop on these phone calls. I have a whole notebook now. I mean, it's this thick, but
Yep.
it has everybody's name, their position,
Yep. Come on.
our whole conversation,
Yep.
pros and cons of their device, who they're, who's in the market that's against them. And then I would even go on, and I have a whole spread list or a spreadsheet full of names right now.
Yep.
Same information, just kind of put in the digital form. But for me, I really did take the time because, I wanted to make it happen. And all those things I talked about with nursing, I would remind myself constantly, like, hey, you have the opportunity, you have the keys, you have now have the mentorship.
Yep.
What are you going to do with this? Because, I remember when we talked, you could try to do this process, and man, good luck to you. It might take you X amount of time, but having proper mentorship, like, I promise you, we can give you the tools, and would you rather invest your time now and make things happen, whether that's 8 weeks to 12 weeks, or do you want to spend the next 6 months to a year, 2 years, trying to work your way in the industry? So, um, yeah, it wasn't too rigorous on me, but I definitely, when I wasn't doing nursing, I was hitting the course hard,
Yep.
just trying to juggle it out.
And the one thing I just want everyone to hear, a couple things. A, not only would you have gone for 6 months to 12 months to 2 years to try to break in, I can promise you, you wouldn't have broken at well over six figures, right? You would have eventually just taken a job for 62K to go work all these hours, right? That's number one. That's what I can just tell you. But number two, what I want to just put in there, what I want everyone to hear, do the job to get the job. It's what we always tell you, but you made it a priority. You made it a second job. And that's what I always tell you guys. If you guys are going to do this, you have to fully commit, because there's people who are fully committed to breaking into this industry. It's a full-time job for them. So you guys that are listening to this, it's just like, oh, I'll put a couple applications. Oh, I'll kind of try. It's not going to work for you. You have people who are all in, right? And so that's the one thing I want to just say. But what I want to just comment about is how intentional you are. That's what people miss is you only got one day. Well, but if you're intentional in that one day, look how much you can get done, right? Compared to people like it's corporate America. It's work. We're all these people in the workforce. I work 40 hours a week and work 5 days a week. Well, if you actually look, they actually only did about 6 hours of work in 40 hours compared to somebody that, and that's where we just teach you guys and what I've done. Usually in a morning from 5 to 11 a.m., I can get more done than most people in 3 to 5 days. If you actually have intentional time that you're focused on, watch what you can do in 4 hours, right? And so you just saying that, I hope people can hear, because Kiahlin, you're dead on, man. That's a massive piece to this. Now, here's my bigger part that I want to say. You're going to have a lot of nurses and a lot of people, whether they're veterans, whether they're nurses, whether they're just thinking about med device sales, man. You can speak to those people because you've lived it. Like, what's your advice to them if they're like, hey, I want to break into medical device sales, but I don't even know where to start, or I don't think my background's like good enough or where it's at, right? Like, hopefully all my nurses out there know by now that you guys can, but probably still have some new ones. Like, what's your advice to people who are wanting to break into medical device sales?
In regards to not just my fellow veterans out there and my fellow nurses, one thing those two things share in common is you wouldn't be as good as you are, or wouldn't have, developed the skill set that you have if it wasn't for proper mentorship.
Yep.
And someone being able to give you the keys and the teaching points to take those, that ability that you have in you and to be able to properly apply it. And I can say from personal experience, I would not have made this opportunity happen in the time frame that I did if it wasn't for this course. But to all my, nurses and veterans out there, bet on yourself. When you think about the success you want to have for yourself, and you think about, the opportunities that you want to have in front of you, if you have the mindset, which most nurses and veterans, or just anyone in general can have, of, wanting to be able to succeed in something, and wanting to be able to make it a clear goal to where you can, make it happen in a timely manner where, you're not having to put yourself on that strain of, weeks to months to years, or, however that journey looks for you. But definitely, bet on yourself and invest in yourself. If you have the opportunity to have proper mentors to be able to guide you, that's something that from firsthand experience, I mean, it was very crucial. I'm not even going to sit here and pretend like I didn't hesitate at first, man. When we had our conversation, I remember I said, let me think on, let me get back to you. And you struck me with that. All right, man, well, what difference is that going to make if you make are you ready to make this decision now? Or do you think you're not, are you going to feel the same in 2 months, or the way you kind of laid it out for me? And, after that conversation, I remember going to the course, that stagnation had kind of caused that internal fire. It was kind of already burning out a little bit, and then joining this course and being able to be under your guidance and mentorship, that just relit the fire. And, you touched on it best, where you said you got to fully commit. Being able to fully commit, it gave me, this sense of raw purpose again.
Yeah.
It gave me, a clear understanding of what I wanted, and then it gave me the steps and keys to know how I could attain it if I just, applied myself and followed the teachings for me and anyone else who's taking this course and who's thinking about taking it. The success is real, it's tangible, and man, like I said, I told you the other day, man, that this wouldn't have happened the way it did if it wasn't for, what you do for people who are, looking into breaking into this industry and, are looking for that proper guidance. Because, from the outside in, I had no idea how getting into this world worked. And yeah, man, you taught me how to, break it down and how to work and navigate my way through it. And yeah, man. So
Well,
for all my nurses and veterans out there, especially those groups, you guys have the skill set.
yep.
You've
Yep.
proven yourself many times over. You're still proving you're still proving yourself, in regards, especially with nursing, as they're showing up every day and they're under those stressful situations and they are having to put themselves out there spiritually, mentally, and physically. So my advice, to them is, don't let those skill sets fall into
Come
stagnation.
on.
Man, take the opportunity. If this is something that you have, a desire and you feel like you could have a passion in it, you know, give into it. And when, as you're going through this course, definitely really give in and, learn from your coaches, learn from the material that's there. And, I promise you that, for me and the other nurses who have gone through this and the students, you will be successful.
I appreciate that, man. A couple things I just want to just touch on for everybody listening is, especially if you're a veteran or you're a nurse, like those are two places where when you want to be better and you want to go somewhere different, a lot of times you can get a lot of negativity. You can get what we call them, the crabs in the buckets. When you're ready to make a change, all the crabs are trying to pull you in. We see it a lot of times with nurses. Oh, you're going to go be one of the reps. Oh, you're going to go do that. And it's because, many nurses that come to me, they're like, Jake, I don't want to be the person who stayed at the same hospital for 40 years and now I'm doing a retirement party, right? But when you go make that change, everyone's going to be like, oh, so whatever it is. Like we've watched nurses. Oh, now you think you're better than us. No, I never said that. I just wanted something different, right? And so I just want to encourage a nurse or a veteran out there. When you guys go make that jump, a lot of times you might get the pullback. Well, just so you know, anything in life, whether you're doing this or whatever you want to do, whenever you go to change, first off, it's scary. Number two, you're going to get pullback and pushback. But you want to know why? That's the universe, that's God, whatever you want to believe in, for the fact of we're going to see if you actually really want that. You're going to get pulled back. Now, are you going to go create the new life that you want, or are you going to go right back to where you want? But the reason I just said that is one thing why I say that is I remember on our call is you're like, hey, I want a little bit to think about. I'm always never going to be pushing. I want you guys to think about it. But here's what I've learned is it's never that you guys need more time to think about it. It's more that you're just scared and you're like,
Yep.
well, if I go think about it, well, maybe things. And then what happens, I always just tell you guys is then I always say the difference between rich people, poor people, logically thinking, emotionally thinking, what you guys get off calls is everyone goes emotional. What if, and all these what ifs. And it's like, what if the world ends tomorrow? What if the aliens come back, right? Like we can play it all day, but the only thing that's not changing is, are you taking action? Why do you want to do this? And for everybody that's listening, why I can do this is, let me just share with you. I was all a personal trainer. When I charged $30 for 60 minutes, nobody showed up, nobody got results, and nobody took it serious. The moment I changed to $60 a half hour, doubled my clientele, had everyone show up, and everyone got results. And what Kiahlin said, because he finally made the choice, it was a big enough gap to make him actually be like, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to let this money go to waste. But then also the freeing mentality of being like, I finally am fully in. I've been on the side a little bit, but nope, I paid. I'm fully in. And then what happens when you're fully in? Then you have us and the team who are only top 10 performers being like, you're fully in. Let's go freaking crush it now. And then we're teaching you what to do. You're fully in. We're fully in. Now you're around a bunch of people who are fully in compared to why people don't break into medical device sales, no matter what your background is. 1 foot in, 1 foot out, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Now I'll try this month. Now I won't try next month. You can't do that. You got to be, and this is what's the most discouraging. What happens when you go all in and then you're just doing it wrong and then you hit your head against the wall for 6 months? That's when it gets really discouraging. And so I just want to encourage you guys, if you're a veteran, but if you're a nurse, let me just give you guys some actionable steps. You guys have great clinical experience. You have all the background that you need to, but like Kiahlin said, you need to be able to bring that transferable. Get on networking calls, to be able to talk about, being able to talk with surgeons, being able to talk with where you're at. If you're in the military, be able to talk about, you've had instructors, you've had to be in a very regimented area for the last several years. You aren't late. You're very on time. You're very punctual. Like these are all things that stand out, but just understand just that's not going to be enough to get you a job. There's so many layers to this game, but hopefully that can just be actionable. Get on LinkedIn, start talking to people, start networking. But just understand, many people I get on calls with will be like, well, I'm a likable person. Great. That doesn't get someone hired with a quota for $1 million to go make hundreds of thousands of dollars. You have to show throughout this process. And again, showing that you've handled 12 patients isn't the same of you have 14 accounts and you have $1 million quota. And you can try to put it, but if you don't do it the right way, there's going to be someone who's more experienced than you. But let me just make this really clear, and I want everyone to hear my heart. It's not going to be easy, because otherwise everyone would do it. Literally, I think about the Alex Hormozy is literally the baseline is it's hard. And that's what gets us excited, because we know because it's hard, not many people will actually pursue it. And then when you go into it and you get into the hard, after a month, 2 weeks, whatever it is, people will start quitting or start dropping. But if you just come in with the mindset of, I'm all in on this and I'm going to not stop until I get it, and then you go get some coaching that can help you, right? Awesome. But again, I just want you guys to hear my heart. Don't need $1 from you. I don't want $1 from you guys. We put these free podcasts out to hopefully just help you. But it's just, again, what we watch is, we have a person we're getting on a call today, talked to her a year ago. She decided, no, I'm going to go on my own. She called us the other day, so defeated. And she's like, I've tried for a year. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. And all that's happened is she's wasted a year and all the energy. I just want to encourage you guys. I'm not saying it's me. It could be someone else out there. Please go do your research, do all your stuff, but just make sure that you fully commit to this and be able to use your transferable background. So, man, Kylan, I just want you to know how much of an honor it is to have you on here and how so proud I am of you. Because again, getting on a call with you the first time, watching you throughout this whole program grow, and not only just grow mindset wise. When I would talk to you guys about, hey, let's change that mindset from a 50 to 100,000 to 200, 300. How do we make 500 grand? I would watch you light up. I'd watch you be taking notes. I'd watch you go. And then I'd watch the confidence in you each and every week keep getting stronger. And then to watch you go and get a job that you now make more money with your base than you were working as traveling, and now you're going to get all the commissions and you get a car and all the stuff, and now you get to have that smile while you're going to be able to spend time with your girlfriend, make more, work less. It's the freaking best, man. And I just want to tell you how dang proud I am of you.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. This course has given me just an incredible opportunity, man. I'm very thankful to have been a part of this family, and I hope anyone who has a desire to get in, man, they definitely find their way across the course and really give into it.
I appreciate that, man. Well, dude, I just want to say thank you. Congratulations. I know you're going to absolutely crush it. This is not going to be the last time we see Kiahlin with us talking about this, but just want to say congratulations on breaking into medical device sales. You should be so proud of yourself, and we know you're going to crush it.
Appreciate that, brother.
Thank you. If you guys can, press that like and subscribe button, share this with a nurse or a veteran that you know that you feel like it could be helpful. And if you guys are looking for more coaching that's just more tailored for you and you want to have success, please press the link down below. Happy to schedule a call with you and our team, and we will see you guys on the next one. Keep going after it. Peace.